It is a hot August night here in our broadcast area in the Garden State, but down the Sandhills of North Carolina, we welcome you to tonight's broadcast of the Fuel Sportsman Series here on the NESRN. Tonight, it's the Victory Sim Experience 100 here at the Rockingham Speedway. So once again, we welcome everybody to tonight's broadcast here on the North American Sim Racing Network, your home for the Fuel Sportsman Series, as we welcome you to the Rockingham Speedway, just on the southern end of North Carolina of the Tar Heel State, as we are ready for a fun one here. 99 laps going on the board here tonight for our second race of the season here in season number 5 of the Fuel Sportsman Series. And of course, it has been one of those nights where I just realized now that our loco said 120 instead of 190, so we'll get that fixed in post. But overall, it's going to be a fun one. Rockingham is always such a fun track here on the NASRN, no matter whether it's the Fuel Racing League, the Fuel Sportsman Series, the Fuel Grand National Series, or the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. Rockingham always puts on one heck of a show, and that's exactly what we're going to see here tonight for 100 miles here. This little track down in southern North Carolina, like we were talking about, and as Corey Stolhood and Emmy Schizzato go around, 17 cars have put down a lap time so far with about 7:27 to go in practice. And after in a very eventful race 1 week ago at the Auto Club Speedway, in which Apollo Hyde took the checkered flag to win the Auto Club 100, after dominating that race pretty much through and through, no Apollo Hyde on the grid here tonight. So it could be a very wide-open race. Right now it's Crystal Bennett top of the charts in practice, and that Hooters number 84 machine as we'll go on board with that Dodge for Lap Car Enterprises. Also turn on the NR2003 audio as well as you take it for a couple of laps around here at the old version, the 1999 version of the Rockingham Speedway. Bennett right now looking pretty solid so far in that Dodge. Don LaPrade, however, right now he just came to the server a little bit ago. He's currently second on the board. Drew Fast, Vincenzo Focusato, and Emmy Schizzato. The top 5 right now is LaPrade is going to make his season debut for the defending series champion in that Lucas Oil 74 car. Is just completely hanging right there was the 84 and a plethora of other cars joining in. There's Kenny Campos in that 32 car as well, so he'll come down the pit lane down the back straightaway. There's Emmy Schizzato's 97, Drew Fast, the aforementioned number 4 Mopar car. And a handful of cars still out on track. There's Minnie Minister in the 22 and Vincenzo Focusato in the Hot Wheels 37. Got 2 Kyle Petty cars on the track here tonight. We've got the other one's going to be RJ Bishop in the 81. And ironically, those two both inside the top 7. There's Blake Warren in the 8 machine, are currently 10th on the grid. Running a 20, his best lap in practice so far, a 24.19. Ike Durbin in the 86, looking for his second career win, and that's going to round out everybody that has, rather, it's on track as of right now. Cars we owe you we'll look at some other point, like we're talking about RJ Bishop. He's currently 7th on the board. Tyler Stolhood, Rafaela Sorensen are 8th and 9th. Sean Douglas will once again be piloting the 43. Keon Daly will be in the 98 once again. Bria Lazanga and Hunter Nelson will round out the 17 cars that have currently put down a lap. We expect Tate Dorsey to come in a little bit here for an 18-car grid. And again, you look at this race analysis for tonight. Rockingham, there's nothing like this track. You got just a little bit of banking on either side here. Not quite 18 degrees, but a lot more than 18 degrees. You got, if memory serves me right, 23 degrees in turn 1 and 25 degrees in turns 3 and 4. And you're looking at that tire fall off in particular, about 2 to 2.5 seconds. Is what we expect from the leaders on a full lap of about 52 to 55 laps on a tank of fuel in terms of tire wear, though, it could be a little bit more for those drivers to really endure as we take a look at the track map again. A look at the Rockingham track map with a start-finish line, right, just not quite at the very center of the start or the tri-oval. We'll get a good look at it here. You look about this track and, it's a little, because the center of the tri-oval down, we're like right between the Duraloop 400 and the Ultel 200 logo. That's about the center of the tri-oval, and then there's the start-finish line right there. A little bit of an oblong track here, and again, you go to other tracks that are similar. There's the 5-car out on track, Victor Nunez driving the 5 cars. We'll have to get him a number tag here in just a moment. Driving that Toyota number 5 car. So RJ Bishop's going to have a teammate here tonight after all, so we'll get at least 18 cars, probably 19 once Tate Dorsey will get in here in a little bit. So we'll go ahead and get that settled up here quick and real fast. As LaPrade will head back out onto the racetrack in the 74. Like we said, it's going to be a really fun season of competition as there's Rafael Sorensen in the 39. The two REM Rafael Emmy Motorsports teammates, nose to tail. Two Dodges out on track. Talked about Nunez in that 5 car, newly named teammate to RJ Bishop with the newly named Bishop Family Racing. Kenny Campos, really good save, and he's going to clean out Rafael Sorensen. Those two up into the catch fence. That is not something. Hopefully we won't see that during the actual races. Like German will also pile in. And there is Keon Daly, like we're talking about. Pretty much a full boat here tonight for Lap Car Enterprises because you've got Tyler Stolham in the 7. You've got Keon Daly. You got Drew Fast, and you've also got the 84 of Crystal Bennett, who's still top of the charts right now with a $1:53 to go in practice. But a lot can happen in a race like tonight. We've seen it in the past, just how chaotic a race at Rockingham can be. So you remember back to the old Grand National Series race we had here earlier on in 2026. Blake Warren is going to buff it in and out there just a little bit. But you go back to the one we had earlier this year, back in Season 7, I want to say, or Season 8 of Fuel Grand National. And Nick Gunther taking advantage of some tire strategy to win his first and so far only race here in the Fuel Grand National Series. So once again, we get a look at Vincenzo Focusato off the front end of that 37 car. He's looking solid. In Rockingham, it's one of those many tracks that favors veterans over rookies, and we're seeing it up in here. We got your regulars here in the Sportsman Series, guys and gals like Crystal Bennett, Dunn LaPrade, as LaPrade is going to jump to the top of the charts, running a 1/10 of a second faster than Crystal Bennett that last time by. So LaPrade, right as we near the end of happy hour, and then the end of practice, I should say. Dunn LaPrade looking to pick up right where he left off from last year. Just an absolute dominant fashion, winning the championship in season number 4 of Fuel Sportsman, the final ever season of competition with the old Cup 98 cars. And, this really has been Dunn LaPrade's bread and butter, the Sportsman Series. It'll be very interesting to see how he fares with these brand new Cup 05 cars. Again, it's Cup physics. They drive pretty much the same, if not almost exactly the same, but it's just the new body style, and the way the hitboxes are compared. These hitboxes are compared to some of the old ones we've had. It's going to be a little bit of a transition for some of these drivers. But I really don't think Dunn has missed a step, though. He ran his best lap a couple of laps ago. You got LaPrade, Bennett, Fast, Focusato, and Schizato, your top 5. We go into qualifying here in just a couple of moments. We'd like to once again thank everybody for tuning into tonight's broadcast here on the North American Sim Racing Network. Once again, on the NESRN, my name is Trey Wright as we bring you into coverage of tonight's broadcast of the Victory Sim Experience 100. Sportsman Series practice underway and ended here for tonight's second race of the season. And there we go. So Don LePron will be top of the charts here in practice with a 23.82 second lap time, his best of the evening. We'll send things downstairs for qualifying, and after that, we'll be underway for race number 2 of the season here for the Fuel Sportsman Series, the Victory Sim Experience 100 here at the Rockingham Speedway. are back live here at the Rockingham Speedway with happy hour underway as we get ready to rock and roll here for 100 miles here once again. So we'll welcome you back to tonight's coverage of the Victory Sim Experience 100 here at the Rockingham Speedway, part of your season-long coverage here on the North American Sim Racing Network for the Fuel Sportsman Series. My name is Trey Wright. Mini Minister, top of the charts right now in happy hour. It is on the pole position for tonight. It's going to be Dunlop Pride sitting on the pole position here for tonight's second race of the season with Vincenzo Focusato to his outside. So get a good look at the pole sitter heading down the back straightaway. Pretty good lap time for Dunn as he will go ahead and come out here for happy hour for the opening time. Mini Minister still top of the charts with Ike Durbin, Emmy Schizzato, Kenny Campos, Corey Stolhood rounding out the starting six with Rafaela Sorensen, RJ Bishop, Blake Warren, and Keon Daly, the top 10. 17 different starters here in tonight's contest. Again, you look at that race analysis for tonight, you know, at this just over a mile and a half circuit, or just over a mile circuit, I should say. You look at that tire fall off, 2 to 2.5 seconds of tire fall off. You look at the Rockingham track map as well. You know, just pretty oblong shaped track with 25 degrees of banking in one corner, 23 in the other. Actually, we'll get the exact note here. So 22 degrees in turns 1 and 2 and 25 in turns 3 and 4. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and this season's going to be a lot of fun as we once again look at the Season 5 schedule. We had Auto Club already in the books, and then coming into tonight, we've got only a handful more broadcasts on the season. Of course, the first 3 races will be broadcasted live here on the NASRN. Once we get into the nitty-gritty of late September and October, that's when things get a little bit touch and go schedule-wise. Was filling out my own schedule earlier on here for 2026, or the end of 2026. Just trying to see everything going on in October. October. I'm not entirely sure if we're going to be able to do a live stream of the Papyrus Motorsports Park, which is going to be unfortunate, but basically just looking at how many things are that night on my personal slate. Papyrus might end up being a tape delay, but speaking of the broadcast, before we get underway here for the race itself, we'll take a look at the upcoming broadcast, starting with tomorrow. After an incredible couple of qualifying races earlier on here, the stars of the Flowmaster Grand Touring Championship will drive on an oval for the first time in series history. That'll be tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. I think we're probably going to push that back closer to 3 as a little bit of a lead-in for the NASCAR O'Reilly Series race. And, of course, on Sunday night, we return after a 2-week hiatus to the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. To the Iowa Speedway we go for the penultimate race of Segment 2. We'll go to Myrtle Beach, down just a little bit south of here. We go from one Kakalaki to the other, from North Carolina to South Carolina, down to Myrtle Beach, racing on the beach there at the old abandoned course, before we finally kick things back off here for the final 3-race stretch, the final furlong of the NBCS regular season at the Old Spice Raceway, before we get things off once again for the season finale at the Richmond Raceway for the final race of the Fast RPCS Segment 2 down at Strawberry Hill. And we're back in the saddle for season number 10 of the Fuel Grand National Series on Wednesday, August 19th. It's hard to believe that's already in the rear view, or in the windshield of our 6-race slate. The Clash at Daytona, the first one since season 5, and about a year and a half since our last clash here in the Fuel Sport Grand National Series. And that will all be on here on the NASRN. That's coming at you in 2 Wednesdays times here on the North American Sim Racing Network. Mini Minister, fastest car in happy hour with a 24.092. But it's going to be the defending series champion. Not on track just yet. Tyler Stolhood's got a lot of damage in that number 7 car. And that is how we'll line things up here for the race itself. 100 miles. 99 laps going on the board here for tonight's contest. Race number 2 of the season here for the Fuel Sportsman Series. And we'll send things down trackside for the most famous words in motorsports to fire the engines for the second race of the season, the Victory Sim Experience 100 here at Rockingham.
Drivers, start your engines!
Engines have been fired. All 17 of them roared to life on the back straightaway here at the Rockingham Speedway. Once again, getting a look at that starting lineup here for tonight. You got Dunlaprod on the inside pole, Vincenzo Focusato on the outside pole position, Ike Durbin, Emi Schizzato, row 2, Kenny Campos and Corey Stolhood, row 3, Rafaela Sorensen, RJ Bishop, row 4, Blake Warren and Keon Daly in row 5 to round out the top 10. 17 cars all out on track. Crystal Bennett, who was the second fastest in practice, starting all the way deep in the field in the 84. We'll see how she's able to recover as we're green flag racing for the second time in Season 5. Let's rock here at The Rock. Already some contact. That's the two Rafaela Motorsports. Rafaela and Emi Motorsports duo of Rafaela Sorensen and Emi Schizzato bumping uglies a little bit there down the back straightaway. Here to come and complete lap number 1 of the night. Dunlaprod will pick up exactly where he left off at the end of season number 4. Ike Durbin right behind him in that 86 car. Lone career win in the Sportsman division coming in the second race of the season. That was at Augusta just about a year ago. Track a little bit similar in terms of tire wear to the track, and Kenny Campos besting hay right now, matching his best result in the Sportsman series as the yellow flag is out. Drew Fast, heavy damage along with Corey Stolhood. Those two have gone around in turns 3 and 4. And that is about as destroyed of a back end as we've seen out of Drew Fast, and that'll likely take him out of contention here early. And for moderate damage, that is a heavily damaged back end of that Mopar 4 car, and Drew Fast's bad luck here in the Sportsman Series will continue for the foreseeable future. I think Sean Douglas may have got a piece of that as well. You can see the tire marks, I believe. Those two got together of Stolhood and Fast, and it looks like Fast definitely just looped it around and completely broke the back end of that 4 car. I'm not sure. Based on that damage alone, I think the rear clip is most likely destroyed on that automobile. We've already got some split strategy for drivers coming down the pit lane, some of them staying out. Top 6, make that the top 5? No, or the top 7, I should say, with Victor Nunez going to move up a little bit in the 5 car. See these drivers come down the pit lane, and we'll follow along with Emi Schizzato, who's making contact with her teammate of Rafaela Sorensen down the back straightaway of the opening lap of the race. And we're not even a percent of the way through the contest, and you're making a little bit of contact there. That's not something you want to do with a teammate, especially at a track like Rockingham, especially going into turns 3 and 4. We'll grab a gander of what happened here to Drew Fast on the 3rd lap of the race. And actually, you know, looking back, so the caution flag, I believe, was already out because somebody went around. So Corey Stolhood already went around. So this is what happened initially. This was on lap 3. Stolhood got to the inside of Focusato, who didn't really get a good jump, into the 39, into the 81. And that was the initial cause of the caution, I believe, because the yellow flag was not out at that point. We'll see what happened with Fast. Warren to his inside. It's Blake Warren that's just going to chop the 4 car around and spin him sideways. Oh, and Corey Stolhood came in there for seconds. Hunter Nelson also grabbing a piece in the 77. I think Douglas was just a little bit off the pace. So a multi-car, multi-wreck incident puts us under our first caution flag of the night. We'll take another look, and back end just swinging out from the 45 of Corey Stolhood. Nothing you can really do there as a driver, which is very unfortunate. Now watch this 4 car coming down the back straightaway. They split Keon Daly, and Blake just a little too aggressive going into the corner and up the racetrack right underneath our camera. Goes Drew Fast and Corey, just nowhere to go, and Hunter Nelson also a pretty significant shot into the outside wall. Puts us under the yellow flag for the opening time, and Drew Fast will keep that car out on track, and he will remain on the lead lap. Pace car is right back down the pit lane, and here we go. Top 7 cars stayed out on the track, and here we are right back through the gearbox at Rockingham. Prod, Durbin, Campos, Focusato, Nunez, Sorensen and Stallhood, the 7 cars that stayed out. Everybody else came down the pit lane. We'll have to see how much that tire wear advantage will play in for those drivers. Right now, Sorensen, one of the cars to stay out, being eaten alive by the 7 car, who also stayed out. Way up the racetrack goes Stallhood. He's able to catch it as he tracks up the hill. We'll have to see how this 97 car, Schizzato, and the 81 of Bishop, both of them on newer tires. Up the racetrack into the outside wall goes the 81 and the 97. And that is not what RJ wanted to see. We're just about to go on board with that 81 car. Great recovery for both of them, and we remain green for the time being. We'll have to see how that affects the handling on that 81, as Drew Fast already getting around him, so it doesn't look like that 4 car mechanically has a whole lot wrong with it. He's able to make the pass. He just doesn't have a whole lot of rear end downforce by the looks of it. Schizzato on the outside wall once again. I think she's fighting a very tight-looking Dodge. Mini Minister way up the track in the 22. Way up the course he goes, and he's just going to try and get the heck out of the way of everybody. Back at the front, Kenny Campos. How about this for Campos? Up in the race lead in this 32 car, and you want to talk about a driver. You know, you go back a couple of months, contemplating whether he wanted to remain as a driver, was up in the commentary booth a lot, and I know if Kenny, you know, there's still a lot of time to go. We're 10% of the way through the Victory Sim Experience 100 here tonight, but it would be very fun to have Kenny up in the broadcast booth, not as a broadcaster, but as a race winner. A little bit of a Darrell Waltrip-esque moment there. And Kenny, you know, this is not a fluke for him. You know, Rockingham and tracks like this have always done really well for him, and he's always ran really well in these fixed setup races. He's got a best result of 3rd. That was at the Alley Raceway, taking advantage of a little bit of chaos as LaPrade has fallen back a little bit in the 74, and Durbin right behind him. Here's Durbin. Gotta get control of our camera here, ladies and gentlemen. That's what happens when you forget to press Control Q. Kenny, you can see him already trying to search for a little bit of grip in the middle line there in 3 and 4. That's not something you want to do this very early on in a run. Again, we can see about maybe 12. We're on lap 12 right now. We can see probably about 55 laps on a full tank of gas. So these drivers are going to have to pit at least one more time. That includes everybody. A spinner in turn 3. Corey Stallhood up the racetrack, loops it around. Single car spin, and we remain green. A lot of damage on that 45, and Sean Douglas will drive on by as well. And how about this? Ace Racer, a late addition in the 64. He is currently 9 laps down. But that Dodge trying to get back up in here. That'll put us at exactly 18 cars on the grid, so at least we got that part of the graphic right. Rafaela Sorensen all on the back end of this 4 machine. He's really recovered decently. He's already back up into 6, and he's within spinning distance of the race lead, as Don LaPrade has once again gotten around Kenny Campos in that 32. Ike Durbin now looking to pounce. Same thing with Victor Nunez. And, Nunez is a driver we haven't seen a whole lot of here on the NESRN. Of course, his most infamous moment coming a couple of months ago at Bent Twig, where he dominated the majority of the Get Bent Grand Prix. Led the majority of the laps, but unfortunately couldn't get the job done, and then all hell broke loose on the last lap when he used up all his tires. Apollo High was able to get around him, and then a post-race penalty negated him to really deep in the grid. So he's looking for a little bit of redemption in that regard. But this 4 machine of Drew Fast is looking fast. Rockingham is it's a very old school track. We had one car go around back in here. I think it may have been Hunter Nelson. As Nunez very squirrely off the corner. He's going to lose a lot of time. Focusato, Sorensen, Schizzato will drive on by in that 5 car, looking for a lot of lateral grip right now in that Toyota. Not sure if he's going to get anything just yet, and these guys still pretty much on top of one another, but Fast immediately marches way back up on those relatively fresher Goodyears. And with a completely damaged back end of that race car, as we got one car on the wall, it's Nunez again. He'll hold on to it. Keon Daly on the apron. Vincenzo Focusato make that the 81 of RJ Bishop. A lot of damage to the right-hand side of that Dodge. Take a look from the tower cam here at Rockingham. Just how much of a bull ring this track is, and you can see these guys all along a one car in the middle of the groove, and Campos gets collected. A big mess down the back straightaway. That was Corey Stolhood, who was in the middle of the line, and the caution flag is out. Oh my lord, I can't believe the caution flag wasn't already called out. And Corey Stolhood right in the middle of the racing groove. Just an innocent bystander, and that's going to completely take out Kenny Campos. What the heck happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. We're literally right on cue as we're talking about this track being a bull ring. Corey, who we saw him go around a handful of times already. There's not really an opportunity for you to really duck out of the way when you're that far back. You spin back around. You're right in front of the leaders. I feel like I really don't feel like that was an Atlanta incident. I feel like that was just a very bang-bang situation where a driver, just wrong place, wrong time, and just had absolutely no time to get the heck out of the way. But that's going to bring these leaders down, and that's really going to change a lot of guys up towards the front because Kenny Campos got some damage. Emi Schizzato with a lot of damage. You see that 32 car completely destroyed. And that 45 car also completely totaled. And that Nissan Altima driving a little bit like a Nissan Altima. We'll take a look at the race off the pit lane. It's Dunlop Prod who will lead. But my goodness, we got to see what just transpired here at Rockingham. And again, these guys, there's Dunlop Prod in turn 4, and these guys are in turn 2, and just off the front in the 64 was Corey Stolhood. Again, you're spinning, you're trying to get to a stop, and watch that caution light. The caution light's not out. Corey's just in the middle of the racetrack, just nowhere to go, and here comes the field. That's not really on race control. That's on both Corey and Ace for not calling out a multi. And that's ultimately on both of those drivers. Neither of them calling out a multi because that was a multi through and through, and that's just a breakdown on both drivers' parts, which is very unfortunate because this is really going to take out some heavy hitters. We'll get another look at things. We got these two battling back in here, and Ace, I just really don't know why you're just racing that aggressively. You're 9 laps down, and then it's just Nelson goes on by. Here come the leaders, and there's just no way and then just nowhere for Kenny to go because he's blindsided, and that just creates a massive pileup. And that's the unfortunate scenario you have. And the risk you run when, you don't have natural cautions. You've got manual cautions turned on. And unfortunately, what seems like just a simple 2-car incident that was going to bring out our second caution flag anyway ends up being just a whole nother massive production that is really going to change a lot of drivers' races because you got a guy like Kenny Campos. He was up there. He was leading. He's got 5 laps led. And, a hard front-end hit on that 32 car. I don't know what that's going to do to the engine power. Rockingham, it doesn't look like it, but engine horsepower matters a lot at a track like this. So, Campos might be done done competitively for the night. Emi Schizzato looks no worse for wear despite taking a pretty good couple of shots. But ultimately, that's going to be a situation where both those drivers after the race are going to be called to the big orange hauler. You'll get a look at it. You'll get a look at it there. That's going to be the future destination for both Corey Stolhood and Ace Racer if things continue. But again, that's just a situation. And again, both those drivers are new. And it's just one of those scenarios where, you don't think of it at the moment. Your first thought when you go back green flag racing is, okay, trying to get the car back under control, you know, not calling out a multi. And then, unfortunately, you don't have really a whole lot of time to react because you've got cars coming at you, you got the pack coming at you, and there's just not a whole lot of reaction time for those guys, which is really unfortunate for a lot of them because a lot of them had a pretty good race going up to that point. Unfortunately, the top three guys up in here, Chevrolet and a threesome of Dodges, making a quartet of Dodges, a quintet of Dodges. They're all up in here, you know, the Dodge model, both the Charger and the Intrepid are looking really popular. In both variants of the Charger, really popular so far is Drew Fast, and a car that we thought was going to be ready for the junkyard with how the back end is just completely destroyed. He's up in the second. He's battling for the race lead right now underneath of Dunlop. Here he goes to the inside. And new race leader Drew Fast up at the forefront, still looking for that first ever win here in the Fuel Racing League. I think that's part of Dunlop's strategy. Just led his opposition as the caution flag is once again out. Kenny Campos around down the front straightaway. And Sean Douglas is going to give him a little bit of a love tap there off for the corner. And ultimately, we're under our third caution flag of the night already. Here on lap number 26, about a quarter of the way through the Victory Sim Experience 100 here at Rockingham, as everybody will race back around. That happened at a very odd space where I'm hoping half of the field isn't trapped under the yellow flag, and they won't. Or trapped a lap down, I should say. There's RJ Bishop making up some solid ground after getting put in the outside wall. He's currently running in 7th. So you got a good shot of both those Hot Wheels cars, the exact same design. You can tell they're a little bit different from one another. For one thing, Vincenzo Focusato's got white numbers, while the 81 of RJ Bishop, he's got orange numbers. But also, there's no valance on the front end of that 37 car compared to a black valance on front of the 81. And here we go on pit lane. Drew Fast and everybody behind him will stay out. We'll get a couple of takers with Crystal Bennett, Keon Daly, and a handful of others coming down the pit lane. But our leaders will all stay out. They still have to make it at least one more pit stop. Until that point, we'll take a look and see what happened here to put us under caution numero trace of the night. And we'll follow along and see what happened here. Kenny was right in the middle of 3 wide. And he went way up the racetrack, and then Keon into him, and just a good old-fashioned game of pinball. Oh my gosh. That was almost exactly what happened with Crystal Bennett at Iowa last Wednesday night here in the Grand National Series finale. Oh my Lord, he almost did a whole barrel roll in air long ways. I have never seen that. Again, there's the running joke here that NR2003 netcode walked, so iRacing netcode could run. Look at you, at the risk of crashing this game. Look at this. Look at this. You know, in the words of Kyle Petty, that's incredible. And if that's not the thumbnail for this race broadcast, I really don't know what it is. And unfortunately, you know, you've got the human side of things. You know, a bad night just getting exponentially worse for Kenny Campos. And you can see the roof damage on that 32. The thing is completely caved in on that Embassy Monte Carlo. And that will definitely be the end of his competitive night as we get a couple more drivers coming back down. We're still about 20 laps away. About 15 to 20, I'd gauge, because we're on lap 30. It'll be 70 to go this time back around as we go back through the gearbox. But, you know, we're about 15 to 20 laps away from being able to mathematically make it to the end. I really don't know if we're going to get another caution. I would gauge that we would probably get another caution. But right back through the gears we go once again. Fast, LaPrade, Sorensen, Durbin, and Warren, your top 5. Great cast of characters up in here. You got a lot of them still looking for their first win, fuel win. Same is the situation with Blake Warren. No Grant Warren on the evening tonight in the 33. You got Vincenzo Focusato back in here, and a big stack up towards the back with Emi Schizzato trying to make some ground up in that 97. Whoa, Hunter Nelson completely missed turn 3. That car went dead straight going into the third corner, and he pounds the outside wall. Tough break for that Kodak 77. He will fall all the way down. He was currently running. He was running in 12th on the restart, and he will fall down to 17th as the last car on the lead lap. Here comes Durbin in that 86 car. Running a very similar paint scheme to what we saw him run 2 seasons ago back in season number 3 of the Fuel Sportsman Series. He goes way up the racetrack, and that's going to open the door wide open for Blake Warren to take 4th away. Is right on the back end of Rafaela Sorensen. Got a good got a good battle for the lead Bruin here, but Drew Fast, he is all over the place. Turns 3 and 4 that last time by. He did not look like he had a stable race car. Way on the outside lane, that 4 car. Something might be off on that 4 machine because he's going to lose the lead. He might lose 2nd and 3rd here with Sorensen right behind him. Here comes Blake now to the inside. Looking for the 2nd spot right underneath the 4 machine. Rafaela Sorensen will fall back to 4th after running in 3rd. She and Blake Warren will swap spots here at Rockingham as we're a third of the way through. Victory Sim Experience 100 here at the Rockingham Speedway on the North American Sim Racing Network. Trey right on the call, and Dunlop looking pretty solid right now in that 74 car, and Drew Fast looks like that 4 machine has lost a little bit of a step, and that is just one of those situations where you're unfortunately starting to really see the side effects of just an ill handling back into the race car, because that 4 machine is really twitching all over the place. There's just not a whole lot of rear end downforce. And on a track like Rockingham, here comes Blake Warren. Hit the outside wall off turn 2, trying to make that outside lane pass. He's gonna go way up the racetrack. Trying to get a big run off turn 4. Might get too much of a run. He's in the outside wall. That'll open up the floodgates here for Sorensen. Durbin not able to take advantage just yet. You got the Stallhood brothers right now running nose to tail, 7th and 8th between Tyler and Corey. Corey on the outside wall, he's all over the place, and RJ Bishop able to drive away from that nearly spinning 45 car. Action all over the racetrack. You know, you want to talk about Richmond and Bristol being the action tracks. They really don't hold a flame to the Rockingham Speedway, and how fun of a race we're having here is once again Drew Fast back in the race lead, has gone around Dunlop. Just how much of a ticking time bomb is that 4 car is going to be the big question. And the biggest X factor, whether Drew Fast is going to end up winning this race or not. 9th lap on the led on the evening for Drew Fast, but Dunlop still hot on his heels, and you've got a Menage a Trois back in here for the 3rd position. Warren with another big run off the back end of the 39. He might have a little bit of a chance here off the corner. Up the racetrack, Vincenzo Focusato making some hay a little bit there. Fast, Laprade, Sorensen, Warren, a big stack of back in there for 5th. Ike Durbin got in the wall. That's going to open things up for Tyler Stallhood to crack his way inside the top 5. Bishop, Nunez, all underneath the 86 car, and I think Ike is learning the hard way. You really don't want to run the outside lane in turns 3 and 4. Which again, you know, contrary to popular belief, you would think you would want to, since you know they're got higher banks, so it would get more of a run off the corner. But Durbin, in the span of just a handful of laps, is going to fall from the 4th position all the way down that last time by to 8th. Vincenzo Focusato, I think he's battling a relatively loose handling race car as well. He's currently just inside the top 10, along with Emi Schizzato has got some roof damage in that 97 car. Speaking of cars with roof damage, trying to find Kenny Campos. That's not a battle for position on the racetrack, as Racer is still 9 laps down. Crystal Bennett with a little bit of roof damage in the 84 car as well, as here comes Bishop. 3 wide back in here for 5th. Nunez in the 5, Bishop in the 81, and Stolhood in the 7. Toyota a Dodge, and that Toyota nearly moving up into said Dodge, and the Nissan Altima nearly getting completely swept up in the chaos. Everybody's still on top of one another, and this has been a really good battle back in here from third on back. Now these top two have really just started to settle into things here, but with 58 to go, we are nearing the window where if we do get a caution flag in the next probably 5 or so laps, we're going to get it here. Spun off turn 2 as Tyler Stolhood back up the track, just gets clipped by the 22 of Mini Minister. And right on cue, yellow flag back out on the speedway for the 4th time tonight. And with 57 to go, they'll likely come down here on lap with 56 to go on lap 44. Ooh, this is gonna get interesting if this is the final caution flag of the race. I don't know if it will be, though. Yeah, but that was our longest green flag run of the night so far. About somewhere in the ballpark of 15 laps, I believe. As Victor Nunez will drop to the tail end of the grid, I believe. And here we go on pit lane. This could very well be the money stop, ladies and gentlemen. We'll just have to wait and see. So we got Drew Fast up in here in that 4 machine. Dunleprod right behind him. And watch these guys come down the pit lane. We'll follow along with Drew Fast and his pit stop there in that Mopar 4 car. Great job by that team, able to piece that car back together to not only put him back out in there to just be competitive. He's got race-winning speed right now. We'll see what he's able to do. 4 machine out and away, out ahead of Rafaela Sorensen, but it's going to be Dunleprod who will take the race lead off of the pit lane. We'll take a look and see what happened here. Saw it live, and we'll see it again, as RJ Bishop is going to get a lap lead after staying out here. And this is what happens in these close quarters racing incidences. It all started when the 7 of Stolhood tapped on the brake a little bit to avoid hitting Blake Warren. He just gets turned. That's just ultimately a racing deal in my eyes, and just Mini Ministers is going to tap him a little bit. And the caution flag out here for the 4th time this evening. We'll get another look at things. That's unfortunate for Tyler. This was just a really good battle for 5th brewing back in here between Warren, Stolhood, Nunez, and Bishop. And Bishop just got a little tip-tapped as well. And spinning down the front straightaway is that 7 car. A little clip here and there. But he is able to just nose it in the wall. Minimal damage on that Conway 7. We'll have to see if he'll be able to remain in contention here. But here we go. It'll be 53 laps to go once we go back through the gearbox here at Rockingham. In case you're just tuning in, these drivers can do about 55 laps on a tank of gas, about 52 to 55 in terms of fuel. But in terms of tire wear, I really don't know if they'll be able to make it that long. You know, I think a guy like Dunleprod, a seasoned veteran at this game, he should be fine to make it to that point. But I really don't know about everybody else. But Leprod won the race off the pit lane. You got Fast, Sorensen, Nunez, and was just chalked up to a racing deal, so Nunez will not drop back to the rear. And Vincenzo Focusato back inside the top 5. Green flag back out and away, and Nunez immediately jumping to the inside of Sorensen. Not able to get the pass made. Back in here once again, a little bit twitchy off the corner. There was the 84 of Bennett. Nunez very aggressive in that 5 car. And that Toyota machine up the racetrack right to the underside of Sorensen. Rafaela Sorensen playing significant defense, and Drew Fast really slow in the 4 car. Stuck on the outside lane. Big slide coming there for the 39 as Rafaela trying to hold on there in that Target Dodge. Oh, and Nunez, he had to drop back, and the yellow flag is back out. So we're focusing on Rafaela Sorensen. Emi Schizato has been turned sideways in turn 2. And another frustrating night will continue here for Emmy Skizato. She brings out caution number 5 of the evening as we're just tantalizingly close to the halfway point here at Rockingham. Dunlapron won the race back, and now we're at the point. 51 to go now. We'll get this race restarted probably with about 48 to go. Now you're thinking that you can definitely make it to the end from this point if you come down the pit lane. Now, question is, we're going to see some real good split strategy here, I got a feeling. If I'm Drew Fast, you know what? I'm coming down the pit lane. Is Dunlapron going to come down the pit lane? No, he's going to sucker a couple of them in, though. Ooh, very late exit there out of the 5 of Victor Nunez, and the only car inside the top 10 by the looks of it is going to be Drew Fastenal coming down the pit lane. Keon Daly will also come down. He'll pit from the 8th position. And those two, and along with a couple others, you got the 81 and the 8 also down the pit lane. You know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with hedging your bets and trying to get there, just trying to get to the end. Again, Drew Fast, he's pit more than any other driver on track. Has come down the pit lane. This will make it 4 times. So he and RJ Bishop, actually, Bishop came down as well. So Bishop has got the most pit stops logged here tonight. We'll see what happened to Emmy Skizato. And does she get a little bit of help from Keon Daly? Keon up the racetrack and takes out his fellow Dodge teammate. Spins the car around, just trying to hold on to the brake, and Ace Racer able to scoot on by on that 64 machine. And already a lot of damage on that Dodge Dealers 97 of Skizato, and it's not going to help her out a whole lot else. Take another look at things here from the tower cam. And Keon just sliding up the racetrack, so that's why he came down the pit lane. He's going to be taking an EOL penalty anyway, so might as well come down, might as well, serve your penalty and just take some fuel for your trouble. But here we go. Past the halfway point in the Victory Sim Experience 100 here at the Rockingham Speedway. In case you were just tuning in, approaching 11 o'clock Eastern time as my headset falls off. It's been that kind of week, ladies and gentlemen. With the amount of broadcasting we have done, I have done myself, in terms of just calling hockey, doing some racing broadcasting as well here on a Friday night. During one of the hottest days we've ever had here in the great Garden State of New Jersey. Very humid as well. Temperatures hot outside here in New Jersey, and it's about to get hotter down south in the Sandhills of North Carolina. Green flag back out and away with 48 to go. Another great restart for Victor Nunez, and this time he will jump up to second. He might be gunning for the race lead right underneath the 74. Watch this from the vantage point of Rafaela Sorensen, and I'm liking this strategy here by LeBron. Just let a guy like Nunez out a little bit earlier, make him use his stuff, force him to play a little bit of defense here the closer we get to the end, because we very well could go caution free for the remainder of this race. Already 5 caution flags in the books here tonight as Sorensen now starting to drive a little bit of a bead on the back end of that 74. Here comes Vincenzo Focusato with his teammate right behind him. We haven't talked about this 84 car pretty much all night long. Done a little bit in passing as the yellow flag is back out. Big crash in turns 3 and 4. Kenny Campos, Corey Stallhood, and Keon Daly look to be the victims of this accident. Caution number 6 out on the speedway here at Rockingham. And the bad night will get worse for Kenny Campos. Flipped earlier in the race, and he's been involved in his 4th incident now. Actually, make that just his 3rd. First incident was unfortunately the 45 of Corey Stallhood is stuck in the middle of the racing groove. And does this caution flag bring everybody back down the pit lane? If I'm Nunez, I'm going to stay out, and Dunlapron will lead a horde of cars down the pit lane. They do not want to gamble. They're going to hedge their bets a little bit here, and they can mathematically now make it to the end on this final pit stop with LePron, Focusato, and the 86 of Ike Durbin all down the pit lane. We'll follow with this 74 car of LePron into his pit stall here at Rockingham. No cars pitting on the outside lane, or to the down the back straightaway, I should say. We'll see, does anybody try for 2 tires? LePron first one out of the pit area, and it looks like Crystal Bennett's just going to edge out Ike Durbin for the race to the end here at the end of what should be the money stop here for the majority of these drivers. Well, we'll see what happened here to put us under the caution flag, as Victor Nunez is 1 with the pace car right now. It's been an unfortunate evening for Kenny Campos, and I feel like it's going to get a little bit more unfortunate. RJ Bishop was trying to dive to the underside of this stricken Embassy 32, and his back end just completely slides out. Head on into the wall went Corey Stallhood, and Keon Daly, he just spun the car, bottomed things out. Great job by Drew Fast to get through the fire and flames to carry on his bit of trying to win this race. And again, we've seen it with a lot of guys here tonight. Just the back end just loves to swing out on these cars here at Rockingham. And what initially was looking like maybe, race-winning pace for Kenny Campos just caught up in that, second incident of the night, second caution flag of the night with Corey Stallhood. And ironically, Corey just nowhere to go, noses the car in the outside wall. Watch Drew Fast make his way through, down the racetrack, back up the racetrack. I don't even think he got a piece in the 98. I think he came out of there clean as a whistle. We'll look to see at it once more. Now watch this. How would you like to see this happening in front of you? Up, down, bobbing in the pond, going up, down, and the suspension might be a little bit toasted up on that the number 4 Mopar, but he's still in the running. And what's not already damaged on that 4 car after the opening caution flag of the night anyway, I should say. Right back at it. Green flag back end of the air. 43 laps to go here at Rockingham, and Victor Nunez out like a rocket. He's been really good at these restarts, and Drew Fast, one of the cars that stayed out. In fact, the top 4 cars all stayed out on track. Everybody else came down the pit lane, and you got Hunter Nelson in the outside wall. Somebody was net coding really bad in the back, and Nelson will lose a little bit of spots in that Kodak 77. Just about lost it off turn 4. Nice save after a big wiggle in that Dodge. And here he is as we approach the final third of this race. Mini Minister on the outside of RJ Bishop. Minister losing the car. Great save out of the 22. Oh, they're still losing it. Oh, and around goes Hunter Nelson. He gets spun in the back. And the caution flag will once again fly, or will it? Well, that was a multi, and the caution flag will, in fact, come out. So yellow flag back out on the speedway. We'll get our camera recalibrated here with Victor Nunez leading them back through the gears, and that was about as chain reaction of a crash as we've seen. Mini Minister up on the wall, and that really just jams up the back end of the grid. Victor Nunez will lead them back, and we'll get a quick look at what happened here. Tough break for Hunter Nelson. That entire restart was just begging, absolutely begging to go wrong there, unfortunately. And this is all going to start off turn 2 with Minister on the outside wall. Just touches the car. Got a little bit of contact from the 81 in the wall once, in it twice. Just running the outside wall, and you go back up in here. Yeah, Nelson just was trying to avoid the 22, had no idea the 45 was there, and then that's on the spotter for not, screaming, car inside, at your bumper. And unfortunately, it looks like that spotter is either going to be fired, jettisoned from the speedway, thrown off onto Route 1 down below. And we'll see what happened directly with the 77, and that was just, Nelson, just wrong place, wrong time for a lot of this race. Was in the outside wall a lot. You know, sees that 22 car right in the windshield, comes down just across the nose of the 45. Nothing you can do there as a driver. So Rafaela Sorensen has gotten the race lead away. Victor Nunez. Actually, I think those drivers all came down the pit lane. We had a lot of drivers come out. Actually, no, there's Rafaela Sorensen. I believe she stayed out. She's only made 2 pit stops on the night. Dunlop has made 3. And I very well believe Rafaela is going to try and stretch to the end here, maybe. You know, this is a really good position for her in this 39. We'll work our 7th caution flag of the evening. I believe we'll be getting the 1 to go signal this time back around as everybody that is off for the lead lap. Sean Douglas and Ace Racer. Credit to Racer for sticking in. You know what? He's only 5 laps down. He's been getting the lucky dog a lot here tonight. Of course, taking advantage of there being 7 caution flags on the board. He's used the lucky dog on 4 of them. And I believe Sean Douglas will be the most recent recipient of the lucky dog as the lights are off on the... Nope, lights are back on the pace truck. So as we're just past the top of the hour here on the NESRN, I'd like to welcome you back into tonight's coverage of the Victory Sim Experience 100. Part of the Fuel Sportsman Series, 2nd race of the season here at the Rockingham Speedway. Here on the North American Sim Racing Network, your home for the Fuel Grand National, Fuel Sportsman, and just the Fuel Racing League as a whole. My name is Trey Wright for the NESRN. 62 laps complete. It'll be, make it 63 laps in the books. It'll be 64 this next time around. It'll be 36 laps to go once we go right back through the gearbox here at the Rockingham Speedway in the Sandhills of North Carolina. And again, you look at this absolute beauty of a track. You know, one of the not quite original tracks of NASCAR, but, you know, built in the 1960s. A fixture of the Cup Series schedule until 2003, and until 2004, I should say. And then getting jettisoned in favor of a couple of new markets. And was brought back over the last couple of years. Over the last year or so, was brought back with the Truck Series, the then Xfinity Series, now O'Reilly Series, and the ARCA East Series as well. And unfortunately, you know, it's very unfortunate that the future of this track in terms of ownership is still very much in limbo. But we're not going to think about that then. We're going to think about things here and now. A very slow restart for the 39 of Rafaela Sorensen. She did not get going, and Dunlop immediately scoots to the inside. That was very unorthodox there out of Rafaela. As a result, she's going to lose the race lead, and that's going to bring everybody back in here. How about Kenny Campos? Still digging in that 32 car. You know, we'll look at the damage. This car is completely totaled. You know, he's not going to have a whole lot of grip compared to a guy with a clean-looking race car like this 5 car, or Victor Nunez, who just got around him. But he is still fighting. He's looking for a top 10 result. How would that be for a driver that damn near went in the catch fence to get a top 10 here at a track like Rockingham? That is the Fuel Sportsman Series for you, ladies and gentlemen. Same thing with the 97 of Emmy Schizzato. She has been through thick and thin here tonight. She's trying to do the exact same thing. She is looking for a top 5 finish, though. Currently 1 position out of it in the 6th spot. Kenny Campos right now back in 10th. And how about these 2 Hot Wheels cars? No relations between these 2 Dodges. We got the Bishop family racing 81 of RJ Bishop, and then Millennium Autosport 37 of Vincenzo Focusato. They're going to go side by side, and we'll go on board this 5 car. You know, both those cars, they look like a couple of the Millennium Autosport automobiles that you would see. The Kodak ones that look very similar to one another, aside from a couple of changes here and there. And Nunez very close to clipping the left rear of RJ Bishop that last time around. That 5 car, he's looking really fast. Focusato's going to track up the track, and you know what? He's going to get around both Kyle Petty throwbacks here off the corner, and he will slip his way up from 6th to 4th in the span of about maybe half a mile. And Nunez on the freshest tires of pretty much anybody on track, and it's still very much anybody's race at this point. 32 laps to go. Sorensen way up the track. Here comes Bennett in that 84 car. Oh, contact. Sorensen sideways. Great save out of that 39 Dodge. And she's going to keep her position, though. What an incredible save out of Rafaela Sorensen. You know, you talk about Emmy Schizato and Rafaela Sorensen, two of the best wheelmen that you will see here in the Fuel Racing League. We saw it a week and a half ago at the Iowa race where Emmy Schizato had one of the best saves we've ever seen, and around goes the 7 of Stallhood, right in the middle of the rest of the pack. And the yellow flag will fly late in the running as Stallhood will spin for the second time this evening. With 30 laps to go, we're probably going to get a restart with about 27 to go. And this could very well be our final restart of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Could set up a mad dash with just under 30 laps to go with Dunlop, who has dominated tonight. 35 laps led on the evening for the 74 car, but don't count out Crystal Bennett just yet. These two were on top of one another during that entire practice session, with Dunn just getting the edge over Crystal at the very end. You know, and it was just a unfortunate qualifying result there for Crystal, where she had to start from the back end of the field. But she has driven her way up. She has seen and been through her fair share of chaos here tonight, and she is in a really good spot trying to get that second career Fuel Racing League win, as Corey Stallhood in the 45 more significant damage on that Nissan Altima. And here we go. Everybody will come down the pit lane, with the exception of Ace Racer, and a couple of other drivers will be a lap down. But this is the money stop, ladies and gentlemen, and Dunlop will be the first one down the pit lane. He'll be at pit stall number 1. We'll get our drone cam right at the entrance of the pit area. Exit of the pit area, I should say. There's Laprade. 4 tires going all the way around that Monty SS. Trying to see who that 84 car is. There is Bennett. Using that first pit stall, however, is going to be Dunlop. He'll keep his position. Bennett is off second. Nunez off in third. And here we go. Take a look and see what happened with Tyler Stallhood, involved in his second incident of the evening, our most recent caution flag. He's fighting along with Ike Durbin and just hit the apron. Spun that 7 car around. Nothing you could really do. Relatively decent job of saving the car a little bit. Actually, he went back up the racetrack and just about ran into Ace Racer. And definitely had to come down the pit lane to try and replace those flat-spotted Goodyears. We'll get another look at it here. And he just hit the apron, you know, trying to get underneath of Ike Durbin. Hits the apron, just knocks the car completely out of shape. Does a couple of donuts around, trying to save the car. Car just overcorrects as he's trying to gas it back up. And ultimately just spins, does a couple of roly-polies over and over. No harm to the car, again, other than a flat spot in those Goodyear Eagles. Ace Racer will get the free pass once again. You know, give him a couple more caution flags. He could very well be on the lead lap, and if everything completely goes haywire, don't count him out either, ladies and gentlemen. But it's been Dunlop, class of the field here tonight, trying to go 1 for 1 in this new SNG 05 mod here for the Fuel Sportsman Series. Crystal Bennett, after just an unfortunate situation and an unfortunate result last week at Auto Club, looking for a little bit of redemption. Victor Nunez making his first start of the season. Rafaela Sorensen, Vincenzo Focusato looking for their first wins as well here in season number 5. Green flag back out and away. Once again, a great launch out of this 5 car. And you know what Victor Nunez is reminding me of? He is reminding me a lot of Tristan McKee, just how incredible he's able to get a launch off these restarts. He's got a really good short run car, but with 25 to go this next time around, he is going to need a caution flag to come out probably within about 10 to go, with just how good of a short run car he's got to really be able to push it there. He's going to let out on the throttle a little bit in the 5. Still going to stay within drafting distance and spinning distance of these guys. But ultimately, I feel like Victor is going to need a caution flag to come out if he's going to want to have a really good shot at winning this race. But that 74 car has been on rails all night, and Victor Nunez was not on rails going through the dog leg. He got into the outside wall, didn't lose any momentum though. Here comes Bennett. She's got to run to the inside of LaPrade. Is she going to be able to make the pass stick going into turn 3? And LaPrade just shoves on the brakes, and Crystal Bennett out in front. But now she's got to play defense. Got that 74 car now in second, putting a lot of pressure on that 84 car, and now Victor Nunez will scoot his way on the inside for that second spot. And I think Dunn is banking on this thing going as long as a green flag run as possible to the end here. We got 23 to go, but for the race lead once again, very gingerly driving that 74 car through the corner. You know, I'm not entirely sure if Dunn, Dunn is banking on one or two things. Either the caution flag is going to come out here in the next 5 laps or so, and he's trying to conserve his stuff a little bit here for the final run. Or I think just conservation in general is really just what's on the docket here for the 74 car. Here comes Bishop up out of nowhere, nearly up the racetrack, and that'll reopen the door for the crossover for Sorensen in that 39 car with 21 laps remaining here in the Victory Sim Entertainment 100, Victory Sim Experience 100 here at the Rockingham Speedway. And LaPrade, I think he's going to lose another spot there to RJ Bishop. Now if you're done, this is really starting to be the time to push because you don't want to get these guys too strung out. 20 laps to go, and Victor Nunez clear by half a second over Crystal Bennett. We've got some new players up in here, and Bennett smacks, rather that was Nunez who smacked the outside wall like a stepfather. Crystal's not able to take advantage just yet, and here's RJ Bishop in that 81 car. Bishop really strong so far here in this early run. Go back, Emi Schizzato, like we're talking about, trying to get a top 5 run right behind her teammate. Fabiella Sorensen, you're on board with a relatively stricken Dodge Dealers 97. And there is the gap, but Victor Nunez already looking for a lot of grip in that middle line. That speaks to me that he just does not have a whole lot of lateral grip down low. And that's going to be an advantage for Crystal Bennett if she's able to hold off a really hard charging RJ Bishop, because Bishop, he's also looking for grip as well. It looks like the 84 is the only one that's really able to keep that car very low to the ground in turns 3 and 4. Got Bishop, he's already on the high grip. He's not quite running the Larson line, but he's running probably the Christopher Bell line on the outside lane, just looking for any sort of grip possible. But with 17 to go. Oh, Bishop! Big move to the inside, side by side for second. Will he complete the pass? He's got to run on the inside lane, and he'll do so, and RJ Bishop will move up into the penultimate position. That's exactly what Victor Nunez wants to see out of his rear view mirror. Right now, when that 5 car with 16 laps to go, the last thing he wants to hear is a yellow flag coming out, and Emi Schizzato. She fell back a lot. Not sure what happened with that 97 car. But she is not going to get a top 5 finish. She might not even finish inside the top 10, trying to see where Kenny Campos. Campos is the only car out of the race. 17 cars still on track. I think Emi is just trying to baby that 97 car to the very end. It has been a very rough afternoon and evening here. 15 to go. And the 77, that's Hunter Nelson, I believe he's going to come it and bring it down to the pit lane, call it a night. 0.8 of a second that last time by between RJ Bishop and Victor Nunez. We'll see what the gap will be this time around. 0.3 of a second in favor of RJ. And Victor, he is just really, really tight, plowing tight off turn 2. He's hit the wall pretty much every time that he's come around, and RJ is really starting to dial in that 81 car. How would this be for RJ Bishop? Second ever start. Yeah, and it's ironic because, Bishop Family Racing, they're right now running 1-2 currently, with Victor Nunez trying to outrun his boss. And how would this be for this team's inaugural victory to come in their second ever start? It's the first start for this team. For the 5, and the caution flag is out. Emi Schizzato has once again gone around, and with 13 laps to go, grab the 6 shooters, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get ourselves a shootout. That is a lot of damage to the right-hand side of that Toyota dealer's Camry. And we'll have to see if that's really going to affect anything on Victor Nunez's car. 9th caution flag of the night. And a bad night just gets exponentially worse for Emi Schizzato. And now with 12 laps to go, do you come down the pit lane, or is track position just that much more important? Nunez is going to lead cars down the pit lane. Does anybody roll the dice and stay out? Sean Douglas is 1 lap down. It's the lap down cars that are going to stay on out. So this is the money stop. Here at Rockingham, Victor Nunez down the pit lane, and a plethora of other cars coming down along with him. I imagine it's going to be a 4-tire stop for Nunez, and that team's not going to bear upon that damage whatsoever. Does anybody take 2 tires? Nunez out and away. Sorensen with a 2-tire stop. She's going to win the race off the pit lane. Tyler Stolhood, I believe he also took only 2 tires, and this is really going to shake things up. How about that call for Emi Schizzato, rather Rafaela Sorensen? And she will move up to the race lead. And this has just been absolutely bonkers race here so far tonight, and we'll see what happened with Emi Schizzato. I believe, once again got in the 98, and same song, second verse to what we saw to bring out caution flag number 6 earlier. Same exact situation, same old situation, and unfortunately, night's not going to quite come to an end for Emi Schizzato, but it certainly feels like it. We'll get another look at things here before we'll go back to the green flag. And again, it's this hitbox with these cars compared to the Cup 98 one, just a little bit different. And that's what ultimately came into play there as well. But things just got, in a word, zesty. Rafaela Sorensen jumping up from 5th with a 2-tire stop. One of the most, we just want to make sure that it was a 2-tire stop for Rafaela Sorensen, if not the fastest pit stop we've seen. Yeah, just right side tires for that 39 car. And here we go. 9 laps remain. And the Victory Sim Experience 100 here at the Rockingham Speedway. Rafaela Sorensen on right side tires only. Tyler Stolhood on right side tires as well. Everybody else on 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. Here we go. Green flag back out and away. And Schizzato, rather, Sorensen didn't get going. And around goes Nunez. That's going to be a big mess. And Schizzato once again involved. The 10th caution flag of the night. Goodness gracious. We knew it was going to get wild. We didn't think it was going to get that wild. And Rafaela Sorensen on 2 tires, cold tires. Just wheel spins right as they're coming through, and Victor Nunez is not going to be too pleased. Emi Schizzato was retired from the race, and Victor Nunez has also retired. We saw that transpire already once here tonight. And we'll see it once again. Just a wreck right off of the restart. Just, oh my lord. Because here, we'll watch this with the interval. We'll watch, she's still in gear 1. Oh, she money shifted. That's what happened for Rafaela. She money shifted from first to third. And that's ultimate. That is what stacked up everybody behind her. It's not a traditional money shift because you're not downshifting, but yeah, again, you know, you hear the pitch. Just trying to grab a gear, and that stacks up everybody. Nunez around. He goes just head on into the inside wall. That was mortal damage for him, and Emi Schizzato says, I've had enough of this nonsense. And Victor Nunez, the second most dominant car of the night, is out of the race along with Emi Schizzato, and that's going to be a tough one for a lot of those guys, but that's just a situation. As Rafaela, I believe, since she was the cause of the caution, she will be getting the restart of shame. And we're going to get this race restarted probably with 5, maybe 4 laps to go. It is going to be a 4-lap dash to the end here, so this is our final caution flag of the night. And that is just very unfortunate for Emi Schizzato. But what do you really do? You know, that's an unfortunate error happening at the worst possible time. And my apologies, we are going to be getting a 5-lap dash to the end here. We're at the point of no return exactly, so no more caution flags coming out. Dunlopron back to the forefront. Has led 40 laps on the evening. Will lead 41 when they go back through the gears. Tyler Stallhood, the king of chaos. Both of his wins in the Fast Racing League here in Segment 2, or rather Segment 1 and Segment 2, have come. Have come in chaos. RJ Bishop has never won in the Sportsman Series. Same thing with Crystal Bennett. And Drew Fast is still up in here after all of this. 5 miles remain here at the Rockingham Raceway. And let's rock and roll for 5 more miles. Green flag back into the air. It is anybody's race to the end, and a great launch off the restart for LaPrade. Up the racetrack goes the 7 of Stallhood. He slides. Beautiful save there out of that Conway Ultima. He holds on to it. He's going to hold on to his position as well. Bishop way up the racetrack. I think we got some contact back in here. No, we don't. And Dunlopron with 4 laps to go. That may have been the race right there, unless that 81 car can catch up to him, because now is the time to strike for RJ Bishop. It is just a mad scramble back in here once again. Stallhood spins along with the 4, upside down, not keeping all 4 wheels on the ground once again is Crystal Bennett. And we remain green. That brings Blake Warren up in here to 3rd. Vincenzo Focusato, Mini Minister now your top 5 with 3 to go. And RJ is absolutely pedaling that Dodge right now. Oh, had to get out of the gas. He's in the outside wall off turn 2. That might be things there, as Dunn has just run a pretty, almost flawless race so far here tonight. Sticks high in the air, 2 laps to go, and RJ Bishop driving the wheels off that thing. Here comes Vincenzo Focusato looking for yet another podium here on the NESRN. He's to the underside of Blake Warren. Warren loose off the corner. He's going to get the run. Here comes Ike Durbin now with the Millennium Autosport duo. Will go side by side. And RJ Bishop right on the back end of the 74 car. Does he have enough time to get to the rear end of Dunlopron? White flag in the air. One more time around the Rockingham Speedway for Dunlopron. RJ's going to have one shot at him coming into turns 3 and 4. They're both in the outside wall. He's going to go for the dive. Is he able to make it stick? He's not going to get it. Off turn 4, picking up right where he left off from season number 4. Checkered flag in the air, and Dunlopron leads 46 laps of the Rockingham Speedway to win the Victory Sim Experience 100. And the winner of 6 races in season number 4 will get his first win of the season in his very first start. RJ Bishop and Vincenzo Focusato, your podium. Blake Warren, Keon Daly out of nowhere, your top 5. And what a race as the podium has done Dunlopron in the middle of a Hot Wheels Dodge sandwich. And after an enthralling and chaotic final 5-lap dash, Dunlop ends up smelling like a rose after all of that. He thrives in the chaos. We know he does, and Dunlop, your winner here tonight at the Rockingham Speedway. He's going to burn it down here at the Rock. First win of the season. Comes in spectacular fashion here tonight. Dunlop is going to exit from the server, and we'll go ahead and take a look and see what happened during that just final absolute chaos here in just a couple of moments. And that got ugly real quick there. As Tyler Solid, he made an incredible save earlier on in that restart, but unfortunately, he's not able to make it again. Just touch loose. This time, the 84 car, Bennett was there, and all three of those cars spin to the inside. Crystal on her side and was able to try and recover there in that 84 car, and she ended up finishing 11th, just outside of the top 10. And a great battle there at the end there between a couple of fuel veterans. And Dunlop got the better of RJ Bishop there right at the very end of the race to win the Victory Sim Experience 100 here at Rockingham. But that'll do it here for the race part of our broadcast, and we'll go ahead and take you quickly downstairs in just a few moments for our post-race ceremony, for our post-race interviews after an incredible race here at the Rockingham Speedway. Congratulations to Dunlop, your Season 4 champion, picking up right where he left off here in Season 5, winning in race number 2 here at the Rockingham Speedway. We'll be back in just a couple of moments for the post-race interviews. The Rockingham Speedway never disappoints, and it certainly didn't disappoint here tonight as we welcome you into the NASRN post-race show. After an incredible Victory Sim Experience 100 here at the Rockingham Speedway, Trey Wright on board for the North American Sim Racing Network. And we're not going to waste any sort of time. We'll bring you right into our post-race interviews here in just one moment. As tradition, we'll start off with the third-place driver of the number 37 Hot Wheels Dodge Charger for Millennium Autosport, Mr. Vincenzo Focusati. You got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
Loud and clear, Trey.
Well, that was certainly a wild race for you to behold. And Rockingham, coming into this race, it's a very challenging track for some drivers. It's a very loving track for others. We knew tire wear was going to be a big factor here tonight. But comparing this race, to the very big tire strategy race we had here for the Grand National Series a couple of months ago, how does it really relate to these, these older body Gen 4 cars here in terms of tire wear and the racing overall?
Tire wear is about the same. It's good old Rockingham one way or the other. The two builds of the track that we used were pretty similar in that regard, which is accurate to real life, as we know. The setup, though, because that's always the difference with having a fixed setup versus being able to bring our own. The setup tonight was nice and tight to, make sure that everyone could keep their back ends under them at all points of the tire run. And the right front was liable to plow really hard. That was different from my Grand National setup anyway. So it was weirdly similar. You had to drive the car weirdly similar to Fontana, of all places, from last week. Keep that right front from overworking, because the moment you ask too much of it, it stops gripping and you have to back all the way out to bring it back to you. Could lead to all sorts of dangerous situations. So yeah, tight car, temperamental right front. As long as you kept it underneath you, your tires would probably do a good job saving themselves.
Absolutely. We saw a lot of cars, a lot of different strategies here tonight, but in another very sporadic caution pocketed race. But just walk us through that final restart of the race with exactly 5 laps to go. You're restarting from, if I'm not mistaken, all the way back in 6th, and you see, all the drivers wreck out down the back straightaway, and all of a sudden you're battling Blake Warren for third. Just walk us through just those final 5 laps.
Yeah, I was so intensely focused that I almost forgot about that. That is really upsetting that so many people fell out of the race right at the last second. As I know, a similar situation befell a lot of people last week too. It's always a shame. It's always a real shame to see. I'm so sorry. I'm a bit scatterbrained here. I think I just said that I was focused way too hard, and I don't know. I was really nervous during that final 5 laps for some reason. I think it's because the entire race I'd been trying to tire save at all points, and 5-lap dash, it's obviously full steam ahead, and I hadn't done that in about an hour since practice ended, and I was kind of freaking out because I wasn't sure if I remembered how to do it. I didn't want to push up into the cars next to me or run over the cars in front of me or brake so darn early that I got run over. So I was honestly pretty scared and focusing really, really hard. But thank the stars it worked out. I had to fight Blake tooth and nail pretty hard for those last 4 laps. All I wanted was to just not touch him. I didn't care if I made it there first or him. I just didn't want to hit him. Last thing I want to do to someone who always races me with so much respect and is such a generally fun person to be around and to be in races with. So I'm glad that didn't turn out poorly, and I'm glad that he gave me room and turn. It was a very stop-start race again, but we got a little bit of a dash to the line between the two of us. So yeah, that was fun to behold. While that was fun to be a part of while Dunn and RJ ran off into the sunset.
Yeah, that was a really fun battle between those two at the end. But we're 2 races into the season and shifting gears, from the long super speedway of Fontana and the High Bank short track of Rockingham to next week. We've got a treat, the good old-fashioned flat short track of Myrtle Beach coming up. I know a lot of drivers are excited. Just want to get your thoughts on this upcoming week of racing here as well.
Yeah, it's one of the most beloved tracks that there is, and such a heartbreaking absence in the world of racing now that Myrtle Beach is not has been shut down as well with so many other great tracks like it. So luckily, we live in the age. We're very fortunate to live in the age where we can relive these lost tracks in simulations like this one.
Hmm.
And I've never had the pleasure of racing there before in a competitive race. The Hornies Championship started off all of its seasons at Myrtle Beach every year. Those races were the most fun you would ever have in your life. Never raced there with full powered cars though, or with properly competitive championships. So I'm really excited. Been to a lot of legacy short tracks this year for the first time in 2026, IRP, North Wilkesboro, and now I get to add Myrtle Beach to the list. I'm really excited, and it's going to be a really fun race.
It definitely is going to be a really fun race, classic short track race, and you can catch that here this upcoming Friday night here on the North American Sim Racing Network. But Vincenzo, before we let you go, we'll go ahead and let you get into the hat dance here after a great race at Rockingham. I know you're a little bit scatterbrained. It's about 11:40 Eastern time, but we'll go ahead and give you the floor to shout out anybody you want. If there's anybody you want to thank here on the NESRN for a third place finisher in this beautiful looking Kyle Petty tribute car, one of two that finished inside the podium, mind you. Vincenzo Focusato, the floor is yours.
Heck yeah, RJ got both these cars on the podium. Yeah, shout out to him for a great race, and to Dunn too for bringing home the victory, and for you for staying up so late with us all. Appreciate all the work you do, even at 11:40 at night. But seriously, really excited to go back and watch the broadcast. So thank you as always for the great work you do, Trey. Thank you to the admins, Ike, Apollo, and Tyler for running the show. Apollo couldn't make it tonight, but it's her series. Thank you, Kurt, for all of her work she does, and Rich as well. Looking forward to racing those two next week, Apollo and Rich. Um, Shout out to anyone at home who might be watching. Dad, Gail, hope you guys have a nice weekend coming up. Same to you, Cameron. Same to you, Andrew. Uh, Anybody who might be listening in from Team EFR, love you guys. You guys are the greatest. Um, and yeah, shout out to everyone in the race who Rockingham is one of my favorite tracks on the face of the earth, and I think a lot of us feel the same. It's very close quarters racing here, sim or reality, and I appreciate very much that lots of people were very close to my car all night, and none of them ever hit me. They all gave me space. They all gave me room to fight and race like we all want. So thanks to everyone for putting on a good show, and hope we have a good one at Myrtle Beach as well.
Definitely looking forward to that as well. And of course, as somebody that's been here to Rockingham in person, went to the races in person a year ago. Such a fun track, both in game and in person as well. And it's we're talking about a little bit during the broadcast how it's a little bit of a shame that the future of this track might be up in the air. But we're not going to think about that. We're going to think about the positives, and yet another podium for finish for you to start off season 5 on a really good note for you. We'll see you next Friday night down in Myrtle Beach. Just a little bit south of here from one Kakalaki to the other. But until then, Vincenzo, have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Just to skip down the road. Thank
Heck
you
yeah,
again,
man.
Trey.
Have a good
Appreciate
one,
it.
dude.
You too.
User was
That was
moved out of
Vincenzo
your channel.
Focusato, driver of the number 37 Hot Wheels Dodge Charger for Millennium Autosport. Third place finisher here tonight. Now we'll bring in the other Hot Wheels Dodge Charger, this time for Bishop Family Racing. We bring in the driver of the number 81 Hot Wheels Charger for Bishop Family Racing. Mr. RJ Bishop, you got a copy of us up in here in the broadcast booth?
Yes, I do. Good, sir. What's up?
Nothing much except a really good race for you, and all things considered, and another beautiful looking car. It was a little bit hard to differentiate you and Vincenzo at times in this race, especially there at the end. But, coming into this race here tonight, Rockingham, it is a driver's racetrack. It is an action racetrack. Tire wear is always a big concern. And especially with this package that we're running here tonight, it seemed like, everybody was really plowing on the right front. So just wanted to get your vantage point of your setup here tonight and your thoughts on the race overall.
Yeah, it was a pretty good race overall for me, at least towards the end. But if he pushed it way too early in the run, you're gonna pay the price towards the end. So you basically had to baby it at the start of the run. Hope and pray you saved your stuff enough.
Yeah, we saw a lot of drivers struggling with that. We saw a little bit of a struggle there with your teammate of Victor Nunez, as he was unfortunately caught up in that second to final restart of the race. But looking at that final restart of the race, where it was you and Dunn pretty much a nose to tail off the restart, and then the back end of the grid disintegrates right behind you after that, or after that final restart starts. Do you think you could have anything for Dunn there at the end, or do you think I gave it my all and Dunn's just Dunn Leprod's Dunn Leprod?
I was just hoping that he would make a mistake, to be honest. I was like, I hope he makes a mistake, but it felt nice to actually get a good run in Sportsman's on like last week.
Yeah, last week was a little bit tough for you. You know, going from flipping last week at Auto Club to getting a solid result here this week, just 1 week later. But, you know, looking a little bit ahead of the future, you know, we go from the aforementioned Auto Club Speedway, the high banks of Auto Club, and the medium banks of Auto Club, the high banks of Rockingham, to a good old-fashioned classic short track race at Myrtle Beach. I know Vincenzo, we were talking about, he's very excited to race there. It's going to be his first race down in South Carolina. Just wanted to get your thoughts on racing at another legacy track at NASCAR that unfortunately is, fortunately it's been preserved here in-game. Unfortunately, we're no longer able to go to it real life.
Yeah, I don't think I've raced Myrtle Beach yet in field, but I'm normally good on short tracks. But we'll just have to see if I do good or not. But we'll see when we get there.
We definitely will. And then real quick, we'll mention, you know, we talked about Victor Nunez and you starting this new team, and another driver, the name escapes me at the moment. But
Noah
you guys looked, what was that?
It was Noah Hart is the other driver.
Noah Harkness, got it. So you, Noah, and Victor, you know, starting this new team, Bishop Family Racing, looking really well here out tonight. Running 1-2 until just the unfortunate situation at the end there. But, you know, you guys always put on some really good performances, you know, not as a team in the past in the Fuel Grand National Series, but now that you guys are all sharing notes, what can we expect from you guys for the rest of the season in Sportsman? And we've got season 10 of Grand National coming up here in just about 2 weeks' time, about a week and a half, in fact. So what can we expect from this brand new team here coming up for season 10 in Fuel GN?
Probably the same old stuff that most of us were on Warren Wentz. Just do the best you can for the race. It doesn't matter where you finish. Just hope and pray you finish.
Yeah, sometimes like that. Sometimes you're the bug. Sometimes you're the windscreen. And overall, you know, we saw with Warren Wentz Racing some growing pains here and there, but overall, you guys put on a heck of a performance. Unfortunately, the payout wasn't there at the end, but that's why you run all the laps, and that's why you've got to get everything done as you can. As RJ, we'll give you the chance to go into the hat dance here. We'll give you the chance to thank any sponsors that you want. If there's anybody else you want to shout out here on the NESRN for our runner-up finisher here tonight in the Victory Sim Experience 100, Mr. RJ Bishop, the floor is yours.
I would have liked to thank Dodge for coming on for my Sportsman car, and Hot Wheels for coming on last minute, and thank you, Vincenzo, for giving me the base to throw on a Dodge Charger at least. Thanks, buddy. And shout out to Blake for actually getting a decent run in for once, unlike last couple times lately. And for you broadcasting, of course.
Well, it definitely means a lot, and ultimately, it certainly takes a village and some really talented race car drivers putting on one heck of a show to make these broadcasts watchable. But, RJ, thank you so much for coming on here post-race, and we'll look forward to seeing your race down south. You're just moving from one Kakalaki to the other, from North Carolina to South Carolina next week, and what's going to be a fun race down in Myrtle Beach.
Yep, thank you.
Have a good night, man.
User was moved out of your
That was
channel.
RJ Bishop, driver the number 81 Hot Wheels Dodge Charger for Bishop Family Racing, your runner-up finisher here tonight at Rockingham. It's time to bring in the man of the
User
hour,
was moved to
picking
your
up pretty
channel.
much where he left off in season number 4 here in the second race of season 5. Mr. Dunn Leprod, you got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
Yep, I do.
Well, that was an absolute banger of a race. Domination from you tonight, leading 46 of the 99 laps. And first and foremost, congratulations on a dominant win. And like we said, picking up right where you left off and putting yourself in a really good position to try and defend your Sportsman Series championship from last season. Congratulations, first and foremost.
Yep, thank you. And unfortunately, I made the commitment to run part-time this season, so my championship aspirations for at least defending it is not gonna happen, unfortunately. Um, but yet, I'm still gonna show up whenever I can. But yeah, I mean, I think tonight was I feel like it was a good night for me. I mean, that's when I go to a track like Rockingham, like it's always the kind of track that I just seem to have a lot of magic at. Like it's one of those tracks that I love the most. Like even if I don't win here, usually 9 times out of 10 I would be in third or second, and most of the time. So I'm or and many other times I've been able to win here. So I don't know what it is about Rockingham, but it's always been one of my strongest racetracks. So to be able to win at this historic racetrack facility is pretty special.
It definitely is. Of course, you talk about the history of Rockingham, not one of the founding tracks of NASCAR, but early on to be just have a very significant centerpiece in terms of the NASCAR Cup Series. I was talking about a little bit there with Vincenzo. It's just a little bit of a shame to see the ownership of this track be in a little bit of limbo here. But overall, coming into this race here tonight, you're talking about Rockingham being one of your better racetracks, and we knew that tire wear, especially with this setup on these cars, was going to be a concern. Plowing the right front, really taking care of your stuff on those long runs was a really big concern. We saw you dropping back in the middle of a run to let some other drivers take the lead. Was that a little bit calculated on your part, just trying to let them use up a bit of their stuff, trying to fight for the race lead, and you save your stuff for a potential long run end of the finish?
Yes, it was calculated. I figured that some of the drivers I would just let them go by me and burn their crap up, and I just save my tires and just catch up to them later. Be like, all right, see you later. And then unfortunately, I wasn't able to get too much of that tonight just because we had the cautions come out at a pretty bad time. But luckily, qualified on the pole that really helped me out still because it kind of was able to offset it a lot of times just because I was on the pole and had the pit stall selection to be able to help me out in case if I was a bit further back or couldn't be able to make a run. Yeah, I mean, I wish that we had more green flag runs for sure. I felt like that I was I don't know if I was the best at it, but I felt like that I was really good. I felt good about my chances to save my stuff and catch back up to the other competitors later on. And then, unfortunately, with the cautions we had, I just wasn't able to be able to make any of that happen. For the most part. So, but still able to get the win though, albeit not the way you wanted it to win it for sure. It was what happened on the second to last restart. I mean, I hated that how all of that happened. I mean, rather not have been gifted the win that way for sure. You never want to have that happen, but but sometimes I mean, you just take wins however you can, and I mean, I felt like that. It's one of those one of those races that I did not want to lose for sure. Because, like I said, Rockingham has always been one of my favorite tracks. I mean, I hated to win it that way for sure, but things happen and you just capitalize on those misfortunes of others, and then rest is history.
Absolutely, and just walk us through that final restart of the race with 5 laps to go. It's going to be the point of no return, and you've got a couple of cars on strategy behind you, but you've got Crystal Bennett, you've had a couple other people back in there as well. Yeah, Drew Fast was the other one I was thinking of. They were on fresher tires, and then they wrecked behind you, and it's just a dogfight between you and RJ. Just walk us through that final restart from the point of the restart all the way to the checkered flag.
I felt I was in the perfect spot. I felt like because I had Tyler behind me and he was in front of RJ, and Tyler took 2 tires. And when I was able to get around Tyler on that restart, where the 5 and the 39 had their own issues, and I had that buffer. I knew that Tyler was going to make a fuss with RJ as far as trying to hold him off. So, I figured that, if I just get through turns 1 and 2 just fine and have him be able to hold RJ off, at least for about, that entire lap, that I think I was going to be in a really good spot of feeling like that I had that race made right there because I was about almost a second ahead of RJ. I mean, I did not want to push it any further, at least as far as just going absolutely bonkers, just go full throttle, and make some stupid mistake. But I also didn't want to baby it too much either. Did not want to give RJ that chance. I had to just manage the gap. And I mean, yeah, I did. He did catch up to me, but that was mostly me just, managing the gap, not making, because I had that gap, don't make, any mistakes, just kind of baby it out, push it if you have to, but not too much because you had that gap. And he was going to try to run me down, hard as he did. And that was, in with the way the tire wear is at this track, I felt like that I was in the catbird seat. So all I had to do was just manage those final 5 laps to the best of my abilities. And it got me in victory lane again. So I guess you could call that a success after all.
I think you definitely could, considering you dominated the race and were definitely the car to beat here tonight. And you said that you were going to be going on a part-time schedule, but we got Myrtle Beach coming up next week, another one of these legacy tracks of NASCAR that fortunately has been being able to be preserved in terms of the game. Can we expect you coming next week at Myrtle Beach and trying to put on a heck of a show with everybody else, or do we think we'll see you a little bit more sporadically than we thought?
I'd have to see. I mean, I'd love to. Uh, I love to go to that track. It's not one of those tracks that gets raced around very much. Yeah, I definitely love to race there next week. I'm gonna, try to keep an eye on that, check my schedule out, and I definitely love to go there for sure. But I hate its city council. Its city council well, I'm not gonna go any further. But anyway, hope to be there next week, and yeah, go on from there. But yeah, I do not like its city council, so they're not going to get any sort of grace from me. So, but anyways, that's a story for another time.
Absolutely, and I think you talk about the city council down in Myrtle Beach. It's kind of in the same vein as what's going on with the Nashville Fairgrounds right now. It's the old adage of it doesn't really take the wise words to think if you move right next to a racetrack, an active racetrack, and you're mad about the noise, what the hell did you really think was going to happen? It was just going to be magically quiet on Saturday nights. But overall, like we said, we're glad to be at least having this track preserved in Game 4. And the same thing with Rockingham. We're blessed to have a track that's in, unfortunately, a little bit of a dubious circumstances in terms of ownership, preserved in a game like this and being able to put on a heck of a show. And ultimately, congratulations once again on getting the job done here tonight, done for your first one of the season. Hopefully, you'll get a couple more during this sporadic schedule you've got. But until then, we'll give you a chance to do your hat dance. We'll give you the floor to thank any sponsors you want here. If there's anybody you want to shout out on the NASRN for a race winner here tonight at the Myrtle Beach Speedway, Mr. Dunlaprod, the floor is yours.
First and foremost, I want to start off by giving a big shout out to Vincenzo Fortunato for the car. I had this car when I raced in a different league like 5.5 years ago. And I'm glad that he reminded me because I was gonna run an in-game car until he told me that I ran this car. I was like, oh shoot, you're right, I did run this car. I'm glad that he told me. I'm glad that he told me that and was able to convert the car and be able to get it ready for me. So shout out to you, Vinny, you rock. Shout out to you, Trey, up on the booth for broadcasting the race. Shout out to everyone else at home watching the race. I hope that was a good show for. I hope we put on a good show for all of you all. Shout out to Tyler Starhub for the league. Shout out to admins like Ike, Apollo, Rich, and any other admins in the league. Shout out to everyone who raced tonight. Shout out to anyone who's raced at Fuel in any part of this year. Shout out to Team EFR and shout out to everyone else for making me a better driver.
Certainly takes a village to put on these productions, and it certainly takes a village to put on these incredible races that You guys end up completely just putting on an incredible show for. We got the privilege of broadcasting it. Well, done. We won't keep you any longer. It's just about midnight here Eastern time in my time zone, so we'll go ahead and let you celebrate with the team. Congratulations on your first one of the season, and we'll hopefully see you down in South Carolina here in a week's time. Until then, have a good week, dude. We'll see you Sunday as well for Fast RPCS 2.
Yep, thank you. I think my celebration is going to bed. That's what I'm going to do right after this. So,
Same here, man. Have a good one.
thank you. You do the same, Trey.
User was moved
That was
out of
Dun
your
LaPrade,
channel.
driver of the number 74, Lucas Oil Chevrolet Monte Carlo. For LaPrade Enterprises, your winner here at the Rockingham Speedway for the it's a little bit late, ladies and gentlemen. The Victory Sim Experience 100 here at the Rockingham Speedway, and that will do it here for tonight's broadcast on the North American Sim Racing Network. Like we've been talking about, Myrtle Beach, next one up on the pylon here on the chopping block for the Fuel Sportsman Series. That's going to be on August 14th at 9:50 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time here on the NESRN, a day before our next race here for the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. We've got one more race to go here, one more off weekend to go for the NBCS, I should say, before we're right back in the saddle for the Premier Series here on the NASRN in terms of offline racing. We've got a ton of stuff coming up this weekend, like we were talking about. We've got Fuel Sport, we got Fast RPCS on Sunday night down at Iowa at the world's fastest half mile, the fastest half mile on the planet, the fastest track on the planet, the fastest half mile, the fastest whatever they're billing it at during the ARCA race as. We've got that on Sunday night. We've got FMGTC racing from Michigan tomorrow afternoon as well. That's going to be a ton of fun. And overall, we've got so much planned here in the near future here on the NSRN, and we're glad to have everybody aboard. Before we officially get out of Dodge here for tonight's end of the broadcast, we'll go through the finishing order for the Victory Sim Experience 100 here at the Rockingham Speedway. Dun LaPrade, your winner, led 46 laps on the night to win by 0.4 of a second over RJ Bishop, who finished in second. Vincenzo Focusato rounded at the podium in third. Blake Warren, a great run for him in that Budweiser 8 machine, finished in fourth. And Keon Daly said it himself, a little bit of a scuffed fifth place finish, but a fifth place finish nonetheless to round out the top five. Rafaela Sorensen came back from that EOL late in the race to finish in sixth. Corey Stallhood, a great recovery for him to finish in seventh. Sean Douglas gets his first ever top 10 finish in his second career start in eighth. Tyler Stallhood finished in ninth, and Drew Fast rebounded to finish in 10th. Crystal Bennett finished in 11th. Minnie Minister finished in 12th. Ike Durbin was one lap down in 13th. Hunter Nelson finished in 14th. Ace Racer finished in 15th after starting the race 9 laps down. Victor Nunez, first car knocked out of the race, was 16th. Emi Schizzato finished in 17th, and Kenny Campos rounded out the 18-car grade, 32 laps off the pace in the garage area. But like we were talking about, ladies and gentlemen, next broadcast here for the Fuel Sportsman Series will be this upcoming Friday night at the Myrtle Beach Speedway for race number 3 of the season. We got FMGTC, Fast RPCS, more fuel racing action on the horizon, even MBCS coming down the pipeline as well. But until then, congratulations to Dun LaPrade for winning the race here tonight at the Rockingham Speedway. On behalf of everybody that's able to put on these productions, for Tyler Stallhood, Apollo Hyde, Ike Durbin, Rich Roy, all the admins, and everybody in the Fuel Racing League that's able to put on these productions here, put on these races. My name is Trey Wright on behalf of the North American Sim Racing Network, saying so long from the Sandhills of Rockingham, North Carolina. This has been a presentation of the Fuel Racing League on your home for the Fuel Racing League, the NASRN. Have a good night, folks.